Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is my favorite Spider-Man movie. Hell, I even consider it the best Spider-Man movie. So when I heard that they were making a sequel, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I was excited, but I didn't get my hopes up. But this movie delivers. If Into the Spider-Verse is Miles Morales being at home, but not feeling himself, feeling out of place, whereas other Spider-Men who are not from his place feel more comfortable with himself, this movie is a mirror of that. Miles Morales has accepted himself as a Spider-Man, and him being able to balance his work life is becoming an issue. Now, Peter Parker being a genius, saving countless lives, but at the end of the day, still not being able to pay rent is a staple for the character across the board, which made it refreshing to see Gwen take over kind of the first act. Seeing her story being told from a different perspective, it's still hitting the same repetitive beats that we see from Spider-Man, however, they're being used to the advantage of the story. Now, I gotta go into spoilers here, so you've been warned. Hey, I'm Mario. I like playing video games, watching movies, and Dungeons and Dragons. If you keep getting me in your suggested videos, or you're watching this video right here, consider subscribing. It goes a long way. Thank you. Bringing back an introduction where each Spider-Man narrates their own position and where they are in their life is a callback, one of many that get brought into this movie, and I found it repetitive, kind of dragged on. However, I do see the point. My wife, who doesn't know nearly as much of Spider-Man as I do, was very much informed about the situation at hand in front of her. Plus, I didn't know that this was going to be left at to be continued. Now, in most of my reviews, I harp on exposition quite a lot, and this movie has quite a bit of it, except this is the exception. The plot this time around takes place in a much more expansive universe. Yet, every Spider-Man is similar in the jokes that they tell all the way up to the trauma that they've experienced. The movie challenges the idea of what defines Spider-Man, even getting meta at points with Miguel O'Hara? Spider-Man 2099 saying that things need to stay on canon, making sure that every Spider-Man has to experience the same points of trauma in their life. Otherwise, their universe kind of falls apart. However, I think there's more to it than that, Miles Morales being the big clue here. Now, I am going into a little bit of theories, but the message I got from the film is that Miles being the anomaly that he is kind of sets the point in that a Spider-Man can be anyone. It doesn't have to be moments where their uncle dies or moments where they lose their first girlfriend. This is the same kind of message that ties back into the first film, where Miles didn't feel confident or didn't feel like he is supposed to even have this power, but it's the idea that Spider-Man is just the average guy and that anyone is able to do good and become a hero. Which goes back to the repetition in before. Every Spider-Man's living very similar lives with very similar origin stories, slight differences here and there, except for Miles, who has a very dramatic and different origin than the rest of them. The repetition of the exposition gets pushed into the narrative of the story and helps actually for the audience to understand why things are the way that they are. And we'll have to go back to see whether I was right about Miles Morales. He, in fact, isn't really that developed or has that much character growth in this movie. He's more of the eyes and ears for the audience experiencing this new adventure together. Most of that goes to the person who takes center stage of the emotional catalyst in this movie is Gwen Stacy, matter of fact. Oh, that's so flat. The work-life balance has made Gwen feel like she's alone. She feels as if she can't speak to anyone about anything, and there are no Avengers in her universe, no one else that she can relate to, as well as her own family members are chasing her down. It isn't until she meets Miguel and Spider-Woman that she finally feels like she has a home, a place where she can feel comfortable, even though everything is being scripted out and she's being told how to feel. Yet, that's kind of what we all want. And it is Miles Morales that makes her second guess everything. Upon us, the audience, learning that he himself is an anomaly, he still chooses to fight against the current and make sure that he gets to live the life that is most comfortable for him. He doesn't have to sit and watch his dad die. He doesn't have to accept the trauma that the other Spider-Mans have faced in order to make sure that his reality stays in check, because if he's an anomaly, why hasn't his reality been already destroyed? I'm sorry, I'm going back into my theories. But this is proven whenever Gwen goes back and her own father has quit the Force, and she gets to have this emotional moment with him. She learns that things can change and you don't have to accept the life that is just put before you at hand. It leads to a very fulfilling story arc for the character and for us to watch, and it's all emphasized through the animation that's being put ahead of us. I mean, they make Gwen's universe more pastel and colorful, but everything changes around the characters to show how they feel. The background becomes more abstract and colors are expressed in moods, and even though the animation facial design is good and they're expressing their emotions well, I love how it is only ever heightened by the more abstract and artful choices that they choose to animate in the background. On top of this, the movie plays like a comic book with panels showing up. We see inner text bubbles popping up to explain what the characters are thinking, or maybe if there's a phrase or an inside joke that gets said, there's even a text at the bottom right corner that will show up to tell us in and inform us on what's going on. To top it all off, there's more of an original score in this movie, even taking music from other Spider-Man media or films and giving a more nostalgic value to it all. All of this allows us to stay emotionally in tune with the characters in the movie. This movie does everything you would want from a sequel, taking everything from the first and raising the bar. I love that it questions the defining moments of what makes someone a Spider-Man. Being at 2.5 hours, I couldn't help but feel that some moments may have dragged on. Maybe it was me, I don't know, let me know what you thought. But even some of the negatives, like the repetitive exposition, was used to heighten the story that's being told in front of us all. Which is why, even with some bias, I gotta give Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse a 9 out of 10. Until next time, play nice. Hey, thanks for watching the review. I know I didn't talk about Spot a lot in the movie. They made him kind of like a joke character, I guess, but he was mainly used as like a catalyst for the plot points to go on, and I like that. I'm okay with the villains not having to be the centerpiece for our heroes. I like that the inner struggle and it was more of a character-driven story was better, and it wasn't just about like, oh, let's just beat up this guy. I enjoyed that.